Hello and welcome to this video discussion about social entrepreneurship. In today's video, we'll answer three basic questions. Number one, what is a social entrepreneur? Number two, how can social enterprise work? And number three, what would people decide to become social entrepreneurs? All right, let's get started. So you've probably heard about the term social enterprise in the past, maybe in a classroom setting, maybe in the news, but what exactly is it? Well, there's many different definitions of what is a social enterprise or social entrepreneur. And I believe that if you go around and ask people with a social enterprise what it means to them and how do they make it work, you'll have many different answers. So that's one of the challenge in defining what is a social enterprise. For this video, let's put it out there a basic definition. And the most basic I can think of is that essentially a social entrepreneur is a traditional entrepreneur, but he or she has one added quality, and that is he or she is a great community organizer. One way we can make sense of this basic definition is to look at two traditional ways of conducting business for an entrepreneur. So the two ways that are traditionally available for an entrepreneur that I want to look at are the for-profit model and the non-profit model. Let's start with the non-profit model. A social entrepreneur has, similarly to someone who is engaged in a non-profit organization, some sort of mission or a social goal that it wants to address. It wants to fix a particular social condition, if you will. Some of the examples that, for example, a non-profit might want to address are humanitarian crisis, and you can also think of some chronic issues such as poor healthcare outcomes or low literacy rates. Similarly, a social entrepreneur wants to address an issue that is of public interest, or at least it is of interest within the community that it works within. All right. Another model that the social entrepreneur is inspired by, and that's the main thing, it is the for-profit model, in the sense that a social entrepreneur wants to use market forces in order to reach its objectives. It wants to connect producers and consumers, supply and demand. This is what an entrepreneur in a traditional sense does. The one difference, however, from the for-profit model is that a social entrepreneur will not have profit as its essential way of conducting business. It will not be the final end, but rather the mission, its social mission, will be its final end. And when profit happens, because they will, you have to reinvest it, or social entrepreneur want to reinvest it in means to basically improve the outcomes of what they have built. All right, so that was for the traditional aspect of entrepreneurship. For the non-traditional aspect, you have to look at the non-profit model. So similarly to a non-profit model, we've mentioned that before, a social entrepreneur has a social mission or an issue that it wants to fix. But unlike the non-profit model, a social entrepreneur wants to generate its own revenue. It does not want to rely on the charity model or the donation model in order to finance its operation, but would rather sell a product. That could be a good, that could be a service, again, that could be a mix of both, in order to have its own revenue. And that produces a self-reliance that social entrepreneurs are after, and that's why they would rather operate within that model than within the non-profit model. Because if you think about it, non-profit do a lot of good, just like social entrepreneurs do. But a social entrepreneur will consider a non-profit somewhat inefficient. in the sense that it wants a nonprofit expends resources trying to generate revenue through donations. If you look at a budget of a nonprofit, you will see a large item that will be on fundraising, on grant writing, on loan applications, with low financing, of course. But that's something that a social entrepreneur does not want to be a part of. A social entrepreneur would rather look at the more traditional models and say, well, I have a good idea and my good idea can generate revenue, and with these revenues I will generate income that can sustain the organization that I'm building. If you look at the budget of a traditional nonprofit or non-governmental organization, you will find that typically a large share of the annual expenses are done on fundraising, on grant writing, on organizing charity events. And that has worked great for the nonprofit model, but that is not something that a social entrepreneur wants to be involved with. Rather, a social entrepreneur, just like a traditional entrepreneur, uses market forces in order to generate revenue through the sale of its product. And that's how a social entrepreneur wants to make it work. He or she wants to borrow the best of the two models, the for-profit model and the non-profit model, and sort of combining in that system that we call social entrepreneurship. Now, the last thing that we have to discuss in this video is why should they want to do that? And just like any why question, oftentimes the answer is highly subjective. So this will be my opinion, and I realize that many people will have many different opinions and many different motivations. If you look at how economic systems have evolved in the 21st century, they have evolved towards generally a more participatory approach in which we try to involve stakeholders to a greater extent. And we don't do that just for the concept of saying that we've included a lot of people in it. No, but like it's been proven that the more participatory approach you have to especially on development projects, the greater the outcome will be, and also the more durable and the more sustainable it would be. So at least for me, I see social entrepreneurship as a means to build something that will last, to build something that has roots in a community, that is organically present in a community. And if ever my social enterprise faces hardship, I know that there will be means of recovering. There will be people there that want to help me because I have created something that people want to be a part of. And in this sense, the social entrepreneur is never alone. And this is a really reassuring feeling. Okay, this is it for today's video. Please leave a comment letting me know what you thought about it, whether you liked it or not. Every criticism is really helpful to me. And I plan on uploading more videos to this channel explaining in more details a lot of the topics that were mentioned in this introductory video. So feel free to hit the like button, you can subscribe to the channel, and you'll get instant notification when more videos come. Alright, thank you and see you later.